This podcast is brought to you by San Diego County Toyota Dealers. Hey there, sports fans. Welcome back poolside at the Cog and Pool. Christian Pedersen, Tom Atwell. We're talking high school water polo. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. I want to take a second to give a shout out to Mike Gordon. Mike is our new assignment secretary for the Officials Association and has taken over for Bruce Morehouse, who did it for years, and Bruce did a great job. But Mike's taken over this year, and Mike's really done an exceptional job of really trying to make sure he got great officials. He's getting great officials at some of the big games and bringing up some newer officials and getting them experience. So I just want to give a shout out to Mike for doing a great job so far.
Probably a pretty thankless job having to send out people and probably only receive hate mail in return.
You never get good news. Get good news.
We'll give you the little bit of love that you deserve, maybe. Just one other quick shout out. You guys had a pretty big week taking on some non-San Diego teams. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we had the America's Finest City tournament this past week and had some great games. We lost a really close one to Damien. Damien's a great program, and they have two kids that are on the national team on that team. We lost 10-9 on Friday night. And then we had a good game against Ayala and managed to squeeze out a win Saturday morning. And then we lost in overtime to Vista, who will be, I think, an open division rival of ours, and they played great. Josh Spence got a key goal for them late in the game to put the game in their favor. And then we beat Los Osos in the final game for 11th place. So some quality games. The other San Diego teams, Coronado did very well. They ended up 9th, beating Vista in that game, and then Cathedral Catholic went on to take 3rd place, losing to Campolindo in the semis by a couple goals. So Cathedral's looking very strong also.
Well, and it's big that you mentioned Cathedral, because last time we were here talking about them being a little bit surprising at their 0-5 record, and now that they're back in San Diego County, you start to see those wins roll out. It's amazing, though. Week after week after week, we're back here talking about how San Diego high school water polo is competing with the big boys in other cities and across the state. And that's something that maybe we don't talk about on some of our other sports here is football. They kind of go up and get beat by LA schools. Basketball, they kind of struggle to win the state. Seems like we're having some great seasons so far for San Diego high school water polo. Let's talk about some of those teams here in San Diego, though. We're going to get to our first league breakdown. Let's go City Eastern League. Now, the way that is sitting right now, we've got... Excuse me for a second. We've got Scripps Ranch, La Jolla Country Day, Patrick Henry, Point Loma, Sarah. Now we're at about the halfway mark, a little bit before the halfway mark on the season. So give me your breakdown of what you see right now in City Eastern.
Well, I think that all their when you look at their schedules, it's really tough to tell who really is number one at this point because of the disparity in the strength of schedule between programs. When I look at that group, I think Point Loma is a team to really watch out for. They had 1-goal games against both Grossmont and UC, and when they play tough teams like that are outside of your league, as you can move into league play, they're going to be a very tough contender.
So a tough contender is Point Loma. They're the defending D2 champs from last season. So you always got to love to see a team that comes off a championship year without really skipping a beat. Want to talk Scripps Ranch for a second. Really kind of deceptive there with them being below 500. They have also played some tough teams. We saw them take on Rancho Bernardo in a really close game that to me signaled that Scripps Ranch is a team that is physical and mentally tough and ready to hang in. So really, I mean, you're kind of looking at Scripps Ranch, Point Loma. Anybody else there that can make a run?
Well, there's great coaches in that mix there with Henry, with Country Day and Coach Traverso, and then of course Scripps Ranch. AJ Farrell does a great job. So I think that when all 4 of those programs, the coaching staffs have done a great job to prepare them. So if I go advantage, I got to go advantage with the strength of schedule in Point Loma, but I think that it's anybody's league at this point.
Just want to bring up one thing. Point Loma already eclipsing 200 goals on the season. I love offense. I don't really care for defense. Just score and score and score. Pull the goalie, keep scoring. That's why I don't coach, and he does, because I would get fired real quick for that. But it's always impressive when you see a team that is a little bit younger, like Point Loma is, starting a couple sophomores, being able to score like that. So really interesting to see how that one all plays out. Let's move up a little bit north to the Palomar League. The way this one is looking right now. Poway, Torrey Pines, Del Norte, Canyon Crest, Rancho Bernardo, Mount Carmel, Westview, Pacific Ridge. A little bit bigger league in terms of the number of teams than we saw with City Eastern, but you used an interesting word before we got started today. You used the word grab bag with this team. What were you saying there?
Well, I just think that that you got this wide range of teams. There's some really big schools in population that I think that league is wide open. Look at Canyon Crest, and Canyon Crest, coached by Tyler Ormsby. He's done a great job with that school the last couple of years, and I see them as they great strength of schedule. They played UC to a 1-goal game, and I think they could just as easily be the league champ in that league as much as anybody else.
So sitting in the middle of the pack, ready to jump out maybe at the tail end. It seems like what we're talking about here is almost an unfortunate situation where one of these teams is going to end up in a third or fourth spot without really deserving it, and they're going to have to play maybe some road games in the playoffs. Is that something, though, that as a team you're almost excited about, being like, hey, we're playing in a good competitive league. I'd rather end up second or third here than go run the table in a lesser league?
Absolutely. I think that when you look, you talk to Carlsbad and Vista, sometimes they struggle because some of the other league opponents haven't quite made it up to that top tier as programs yet. And if you don't play a tough league schedule, you're really not prepared for the postseason. Most teams finish their season with their league play. And if you're not playing competitive games at the end of the season, you're really not ready to play it in the postseason. So I think it's going to help all those teams to have a really tight league with every league game being a battle. They're going to be ready for the postseason.
That's a big thing that you mentioned, playing your best ball at the end of the season. It's somewhat of a cliche after all these years of sports coverage, but it's absolutely true, is that you can do all this front loading and testing, but it doesn't matter if you just stop there. You don't want to play that one big league or non-league game and then run the table on an easy league. Just want to run down some numbers here because we always like to get a little bit into the numbers and just say how impressed I am with the defense for Poway and Torrey Pines. They are kind of head over heels, 20 to 30 goals less allowed than the rest of the teams. If you had to pick the offense or the defensive stats, what's a little more telling to you about a team's success?
Well, I think it's definitely the defense. I think that because you can't really tell by the scheduling of games and the tournaments they've been in, you can throw up 17 or 18 goals in a game and pad your stats, but it's really the goals against that are going to make the biggest difference. You look at Torrey Pines with Tim Reed coaching; they're going to press you like crazy, they're gonna kind of in your face kind of defense, and that's going to make a big difference, especially as we move towards the end of the season.
Just wanted to highlight a couple of players here for a second because we got to give some love to Mount Carmel. They're a little bit lower down in the rankings right now, but you got some league leaders standing out. Jake Danzer scoring a lot of the goals for them. He's got 52 of their 150, so that's always impressive when you have one kid bringing up that much. Also, want to get to Kevin Higbee from Del Norte. Just give some love to the Nighthawks, as they are another team in this mixed grab bag. So this really should be a lot of fun to see how this all ends up. If you guys have any other leagues that you want us to talk about, we're going to try and make it through to all of them. We have a limited number of time that we don't want to be blabbering on to you for hours on end. Let's get, though, to some of our game predictions as I lose track of the 200,000 pieces of paper that I printed out with notes. Maybe you can over-prepare sometimes for stuff. Our first game is Mar Vista, Bonita Vista. This one, South Bay, maybe not a lot of attention on either of these teams, but this kind of has the feel of one of these teams could get this W, maybe start to put together a little bit of a run off of here now that they're in league play. What do you see out of this?
Yeah, both those are kind of storied programs from you go back a few decades, and both of them have had great runs in the past. So it'd be it's interesting to see that matchup now as they're trying to create a resurgence out of both those programs. I think that it could be a great game.
Coach Kavanaugh down there at Mar Vista certainly has been fun to watch him put this program back together. Just want to say one thing. Zach Hastings for Mar Vista, shout out to him, averaging just over 4 goals per game. So he's their offensive backbone. He should be the player to watch for in that one. Let's head up north now to our second game we want to get to. San Diego LCC. You were talking a little bit about LCC being kind of deceptive. They're only a couple games above 500, but that really doesn't tell the tale of the tape here.
Yeah, I think, when you look at their strength of schedule and teams they played so far this season, and they generally they're in a couple tournaments that are going to they're going to find some very tough competition, which by the time you get to the end of the season, that's going to pay off. All those tough games are going to really make a difference.
When talking tough games, this is going to be a tough one for San Diego. They're kind of an up-and-coming program, trying to make a name for themselves. This has that feel of this would be kind of a signature win so far for them this season for Scott Kling's group. Just want to bring up one thing about San Diego. We talked about individually their offensive prowess last week. They're scoring just over 45% of their shots. That seems to me like a really high efficiency rate. So should be a lot of fun to watch that shootout. So those are our two games. Those are our two leagues. Any other notes you got for the fans this week?
That's it. We got a big game. La Jolla versus Bishops tomorrow at 4:30 at Bishops. Should be a great game.
There you go. Check it out at the Dungeon. You can check all of our water polo coverage out every single week on San Diego Prep Insider. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.